If you're like most people, you've probably noticed a gap between who you are and who you want to be. There are small things you feel you should be doing, and big goals you'd like to achieve. These might include exercising regularly, eating healthy, learning a language, working on a novel, reading more, or simply pursuing a hobby instead of scrolling Reddit. But sometimes, achieving your goals feels like you need to become a different person. Someone consistent, more effortful, disciplined, and strong-willed. Maybe you tried your hardest to be that person. And it worked. For a while. Until you found yourself slipping back into old habits. Eventually, you always seemed to fail. And with each failed attempt, you grew more annoyed and disappointed with yourself. If the internet's success and grit narrative is to be believed, it's all your fault. If you didn't succeed, you just didn't want it enough, and failure is solely on you. But change is truly difficult. And, like most things in life, understanding why makes it easier. The jungle. Imagine your brain as a lush and dense jungle. Moving through it, say, to make a decision to do something, is like navigating a real jungle. It's hard and takes energy. Your brain doesn't like to expend energy, so it's come up with a trick. All your actions and behaviors leave traces in your brain's jungle. When you start doing something, you tramp down some plants and forge rough, improvised trails through the undergrowth. The more often you do it, the more pronounced the trail becomes. Over time, it turns into a path that's easier to walk, so you walk it more often, and it becomes a street. By repeating an action again and again over years, the street turns into a highway. Moving along it becomes easy, familiar, and comfortable. The more pronounced the highways in your brain, the more you get used to their comfort. So we keep using them, which means we tend to do what we've always done. This is why change is so difficult, especially in adulthood when your jungle is crisscrossed with many established streets and highways. To understand how these highways are built, we need to distinguish between two things: routines and habits. The things you do, routines and habits. A routine is a sequence of actions you perform the same way every time because they've worked well for you. For example, you grab the same ingredients for your favorite dish and cook them in a specific order because you like the taste of the result. Or before bed, you set your alarm for 6:30 a.m. because that's when you want to wake up. Imagine routines being carried out by a wise planner. This planner is slow and analytical, responsible for strategy and mental calculations. The planner is aware of the future and carefully considers what outcome you want. Based on that, it chooses actions to achieve specific goals, even if they're inconvenient, like taking a shower after waking up. Routines can over time turn into habits, which feel much easier because they are a sequence of actions performed without thinking about them. You've done them so often that your brain considers them rewarding and a great response to a situation. Thus, a habit can feel like you're on autopilot. You don't need to convince yourself to do something that's a habit, you just do it. The important thing is that habits are triggered by cues, contextual signals that can be individual things or entire situations that cue your brain to start a behavior or action. You already have many cues in your life. For example, when you see your phone, you almost always unlock the screen. Or you fasten your seatbelt when you get in the car. Or when you buy coffee before work, you also grab a cookie, even if you're not actually hungry. Habits are carried out by the impulsive toddler. This toddler reacts to your immediate urges based on what's around you, without considering long-term goals. For the toddler, the future doesn't exist, and it hates hard work. So, when it notices a cue, it guides you down that easy path in your brain that leads to a familiar, rewarding outcome. If you're drinking coffee, the toddler also wants the cookie, simply because that's what you do every morning. This feeling of reward is also why most of your bad habits exist. Chocolate is tasty. Scrolling Reddit is mildly entertaining sometimes. This is why you repeat these actions, even if they're bad for you. The feeling of reward associated with an action demands repetition, and that's how a bad habit is born. While the toddler sounds like a built-in sabotage mechanism, it's just as important as the wise planner, and they actually work together most of the time. You need the wise planner for big thoughts, parallel parking, and doing your taxes. But letting the wise planner do everything would cost too much energy. Offloading routine and repetitive tasks to habits, managed by the toddler, allows your brain to easily navigate your daily life while also tackling more complex mental tasks. So, if we want to change and implement new behaviors into our lives, we can use these energy-saving mechanisms to make it easier. We'll focus on small things, not big ones. Improving your life even a little is better than setting high goals and changing nothing. Especially because small changes can do a lot over months and years. How to form a habit. If you want to make changes easier, the best way might not be to force yourself with willpower, but to convince your brain it's not that hard. By creating new routines and turning them into habits. You want your wise planner to forge the first trail, and then use the toddler to effortlessly initiate the action. Let's say you want to exercise to get in better shape, a very common goal. The first thing to do is to break this rather vague goal down into clear, distinct actions, because the idea is to make the action itself as easy a threshold as possible. So small that it's manageable, and so specific that you don't have to think much about it. For example, a tangible, controllable action could be doing 10 squats every morning. This way, you can start by trying to create a routine, but already embed clear cues into it that the toddler can pick up later. Remember, a cue is nothing more than a signal you always associate with an action. These can be visual cues, like the sight of a specific object, such as your workout clothes, or a specific time of day, or a designated place, like a nearby park, or even better, all of these things combined. The important thing is that you always begin to perform your action within a specific context. This cue is the trigger button that will eventually automatically launch the action. So, to establish a home workout habit of 10 squats to start, you could make sure you always do them in your workout clothes, in the same spot, and at the same time, for example, in the living room at 8 a.m. Once you have a cue and an action, all you need to do is regularly repeat them, ideally every day. If you keep it up, they will change from a routine to a habit, from a trail to a highway. Don't get me wrong, the squats will still require energy from you, but the decision to do them will feel much less burdensome and a more regular part of your day. While it's simple, it's not easy. Many things you want to turn into habits don't offer as much instant gratification as spending time on Reddit. To make your new action easier to repeat and more likely for the toddler to pick up, try to make it enjoyable. Not necessarily by rewarding yourself after you've done it, but by making the action or behavior itself more pleasant. For example, listening to your favorite podcast only while working out, or working on your taxes while waiting for the next round in a game to load. You need to figure out what works for you. Basically, that's it. Annoyingly simple, like most things you can do to improve your life. How long it takes for your toddler to take over and establish a habit varies greatly. It depends on the behavior you're trying to habituate, the kind of person you are, your stress levels, and many other things. It takes between 15 and 250 days for a new habit to be automatically triggered by its cue. You won't know how long it will take for you. Starting is easy, especially in the first 1 or 2 weeks. Continuing to do it every day is the hard part. But it does get easier if you keep going. There are no magic bullets for change. But the science of habits reminds us that it's possible, no matter how old you are. Even if you end up doing a little more good things, or a few new things, that's still a success. Being a little healthier or more knowledgeable is a million times better than being unhappy about something and changing nothing. After all, change is a direction, not a destination. Thanks for watching.